Welcome to the Scariest Things podcast, your gateway to the trends and tropes of the horror genre. Today, live from Crypticon at Seattle's Doubletree Inn, and I have the distinct pleasure to bring one of our old scariest buddies on. This is an interview with Crystal Connor, who is now going to embark on a brand new festival adventure.
Yep.
And Crystal is a noted horror author. She wrote The Darkness, My First Nightmare, and They All Lived Happily Ever After.
Spoiler, they don't.
Oh, that's not truth in advertising. So all of her books are available on Goodreads. And but she's now going to be venturing into the world of film.
Yes.
So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Crystal. Crystal, give us a little bit of a background of what you've been doing up to this point and why Cabin in the Woods Film Festival.
Okay, so a little bit about me. I am a master imaginationalist. I'm working for the nightmare prevention in the sleep department. I am a moonlighting on Instagram, and I'm a native of Washington State. So basically, I tell really scary stories and take a lot of selfies.
Food selfies?
All kinds of selfies,
Okay.
yeah. And so my first book, The Darkness, was published in 2010, and then by the time 2018 came, when I premiered My First Nightmare at New York City Comic Con, I had 13 publications under my name. And so now I have opened another corridor in the Horror Den, and I have a film festival coming up. And that's one other thing that I forgot to mention. I also review movies for horror addicts, and I'm a judge on a bunch of local film festivals, but this year I'm not judging because I'm now a festival director.
So I believe that there are some festivals that you have gone to that inspired you to go down this rabbit hole. And this is no easy feat. I've talked with a number of festival directors. There's just the organization, the ability to get filmmakers to submit good movies, to be able to vet the movies that you do get, and then to try and secure your venues, all that kind of stuff. What madness overtook you to want to do this one? Is there something that you have a direct inspiration? We went, I could do that too.
Okay, so back a year ago when I first went to, I was always going to the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival, but I woke up one morning and bought a VIP ticket to the Portland Horror Film Festival, and I went down there for 5 days to watch it as a fan. But the second day, the correspondent in me took over. And and that's when I met you, remember?
Yeah, well, this was one of the greatest moments in Scariest Things history. Was actually Mike Campbell and I were awaiting the next movie at the Portland Horror Film Festival, and I got a tap on the shoulder. It's like, "Are you the Scariest Things?" I was like, "What?"
The way you guys were looking at me, I felt so embarrassed because I thought maybe I was wrong. Because you guys both were looking at me like stunned, and I was like, because your voices sound familiar, and then you're like, "We are," and I was like, "Oh my God!" It was crazy because I thought that I was wrong, but you walked past me. I was talking to my assistant Callie, and then you started talking, and I was like, "Do you hear that?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And I basically shoved my popcorn in her lap, and I climbed over her, and that's when I tapped you on the shoulder, and I'm like, Are you guys from the Scariest Podcast? And there was nothing, and so I was like, "Oh, okay, this is awkward."
We were flabbergasted because it is the first interaction in the wild where someone actually had recognized us by our voices.
Yeah.
There have been times where we've actually done presentations on stage, and then people come up to us afterwards. But this one was. It was a shock. It was the most wonderful kind of a thing to actually, because we have other friends, the Straight Chillin' podcast, who we meet up with in New Orleans for the Overlook Film Festival. They had a fan emerge from the wild, as we say, and they did autographs and things like that. And for podcasters, we are, you know, there are so many podcasts out there for someone actually to pick up on it. Granted, you expect to see horror podcasters at a horror convention,
Right.
and certainly Portland Horror Film Festival. If you're going to run into it's like if you want to run into us, come to Portland Horror Film Festival and the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival because we're going to be there.
Yep.
And Crystal, now you can run into Crystal at these events. But more importantly, you may want to actually go to Cabin in the Woods Film Festival.
So that was the festival that weekend, that week was what inspired me to do Cabin in the Woods. I had it in the back of my head for like a while, because I'm not really a camper. Like I watch too many horror movies, right? Mm-hmm. And so being there, watching the films for the first time in the theater with a bunch of people of my ilk who we weren't being shushed when we're screaming at the screen, right? Yeah. It felt like.
So are you one of those people who will instruct the protagonist on whether they're making smart or stupid moves on the screen?
Yeah. So my claim to fame, even before I started writing, I used to do a DVD pick of the week, and what I would do back in the day when everyone was like writing, blogging, I would write out what I was screaming to the screen, like entry 1, 2, 3, and then I would do like a summary at the end.
Oh wow!
And so once I started to slow down and start writing, the guys who were like my fan base for the DVD pick of the week were like, we know you're about to be famous writing, but where's our DVD pick of the week, right? Yeah. And so then after The Darkness was published and I started doing the DVD picks of the week again, I was contacted by horror addicts and like, hey, would you want to review for us? And I was like, and so then I was being assigned movies, which opened my horizon greatly because they were giving me movies that I wouldn't normally watch. And so they gave me a short to watch that it's Never Tear Us Apart, and it's like 7 minutes. And so it was such a short film that I recorded myself watching it and screaming at the people on the screen. Hola Peeps. So today's assignment from Horror Addicts is another super short film. So we're going to do this together. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do a split screen yet because it's still private, but because it's so short, we'll just you can watch me watch it and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So let's get this little film started, shall we? It's loading. Dude, you're not going nowhere. This guy has fucked you guys. See, this shit right here is what I'm talking about. It's a pretty good opening scene, though.
Yeah, sounds like a cat in heat. There's
Idiot.
I was attacked by a cougar once. Her name was Janice. She did this thing with her tongue. There you go. They don't like me.
No one ever listens to stay out of the fucking woods. There they go.
Dude, you got nothing to worry about. Who's gonna turn down a guy bearing gifts of assorted cheeses and what the fuck is in this? It's a stained glass owl. Could just go with a bottle of wine. Look at this place. It's so real, man. God, it's virtuous. Yeah, well, dude, this is like some real Ted Kaczynski territory around here, right?
Keep your ass out that house. See, no one listens. Wow. This guy is fucking delusional. That's a fucking sign. No one uses that kind of knife to cut a turkey. Run. Run.
Oh my god.
Run! Dumbass. See? Now you're caught. Run, like he said. No, run. So you run further into the woods. Just not going to run into your car. They're going to get caught. Watch. You better not fucking fall. I would have left his ass. God. Told you should have fucking left him. Think fast, Poppy.
This one looks nice and tender. My name is James Cooper. I'm Amy Lou's boy. What's that now? Look, look.
What? This is some wild ass shit right here. Okay, guys. Wow, clocking in at just 6 minutes and 19 seconds. Sid's Zunflun's Never Tear Us Apart is fun. Again, it's super short. It looks like they're doing this so that they can show that they can do a feature-length movie that's horror and comedy, which I kind of don't like horror mixed with my comedy. Like I don't like pineapples on my pizza, but this was really good. I hope that they do turn this into a full length feature. It was fun. As far as shorts go, they tell a really good story in a short amount of time. They utilize every single inch of visual landscaping and dialogue and everything. This is really good. I'm going to go ahead and give these guys a 5 stars, and hopefully once this short is available to everybody, everyone will go see it. It's Zid Sanfillin's Never Tear Us Apart, and it looks like it's they're just showing out to show people that they can make a full length feature, and I think this will be along the lines of like Dell and Tucker versus Evil or whatever it is. Like, I don't like comedy horror, so I don't know them all. Or but this, yeah. So yeah, hopefully this will do well. And I'm rambling because I don't speak well in public. But anyway, this is really good, and I hope you guys take a look at it. And that was such a big hit that everyone was like, you have to. We will never accept another review unless you do it like this. And that's how live action reviews came to be. Okay. So if you guys go to YouTube and like click in live action reviews, all of those reviews are you guys watching me screaming at the people in the on the screen.
Granted, I think for blockbuster films, there's been this cottage industry of movie reactors, but horror short reactions, we've got you covered with Crystal Connor. So this is there's plenty of people who will do the Star Wars movies and the Marvel movies, but our community
Yes, our
needs
community.
needs reactors. I think the trickiest thing though is being able to get reacting to short films. Horror shorts, because a lot of the times, in order for them to be successful, they have to stay on the festival, and a lot of festivals don't like releasing short films because they want to keep it somewhat proprietary.
And so, like, that film was, they reached out to Horror Addicts and, like, can we get reviews, because they were pitching for a larger project. And so, normally for the channel, I'm reviewing full-length movies.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, back to your original question, when I was in Portland, like, the calamity of just being around other horror fans and just getting it and just being like in your tribe, I was like, okay, let me go ahead and put on my own film festival. And so it's just been so, like, I've never been so stressed out and having so much fun at the same time. Like, it's crazy. So the first thing I did is I started looking for cabins that weren't too far remote, because we need to have a cell phone service. We need to have emergency services. Like, when I found the cabin on Anderson Island, I was like calling, and I'm like, okay, so like if something happens, like how long is it going to take, rescue services to get there? And the fire chief was like, we're on the island. Like, where do you think you're going? Like, just call us and we'll be there. And so, like, I'm just making sure. So, one of the things that also inspired me was at bigger festivals like HP and Portland Horror, and even this one, as a covering it as press, sometimes you cannot talk to the directors and the stars that you want to talk to because they have a tight schedule, and they're giving their time to bigger, more known press people. And then when you do get to interview people, like I interviewed a director from Italy, and I interviewed her in the pub, but because there were 500 million people from the festival in that pub, I couldn't use it because the sound was horrible. And so my idea to have a smaller festival with smaller attendees is that the people can actually talk to the people who they're coming to see, and the interviews that we as press are going to be conducting will have better sound quality because we're not competing with 500 other people.
And one of the something that I would recommend. And actually, I'm fortunate here because today I'm actually being able to do a face-to-face with Crystal. We have previously done a recording that was over a Zoom call, which isn't great. So we're going for the high fidelity here, but getting a good dynamic microphone like these keeps it all contained, nice and crystal clear. And then I think that there's these portable units called Zunes, which you can take a microphone like this and plug in and it's a reporter's favorite tool.
Okay.
But you have to watch your mic distance when you do these things. And for those who aren't watching, there's only Crystal's recording this on video, but for those of you listening, that was me waving my microphone around. So the festival is happening when?
From August 22nd to the 26th, and the VIP guests can start checking in on the 21st.
Okay, and so this is a very different kind of a film festival. This is more of a kind of a retreat.
Absolutely.
And so it's built around films, but there will be other activities on the island. This is sort of kind of like an exclusive, kind of a resorty festival, and it's going to be somewhat limited by your capacity because there's only so many people who can get on the ferry and all that kind of stuff.
I did that on purpose, right? I wanted to have a smaller boutique horror festival, and I did kind of one of like the idea behind the Cabin in the Woods is to elevate the horror film festival experience. It like breaks my heart when I hear people like say disparaging things about horror. Like it just makes me want to fight the air. But we can still, as the horror community, there's room for us to like like I was saying when we first recorded the video, I was working with a vendor's assistant, and when she was looking over everything that was going on, she was like, "This is the bougiest horror festival I've ever heard of in my life." And I was like, "And it is, like, you know what I mean?" Because like I wanted, there's so many different facets of horror that there's no reason why people can't think of it as luxurious.
Yeah, no. Well, there are I think 5,000 people here at Crypticon. We found ourselves in a little quiet area to do the recording, but it is it's a big crowd. But the lots of black T-shirts.
Yep.
But apart from that, there's the range of why people show up to these things and what their favorite movies are. I mean, there's this. So Crypticon is something which is, it's not, they do show some films, but this is more of a convention, a comic book convention where there are, I think Dee Wallace is here, Kelly Maroney is here.
It's the biggest horror convention in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. And it's, and we have a big horror community in the Northwest. And, but you're able to tap into these kinds of, this kind of an audience. There's an appetite for this, and that also shows up at Portland Horror and Lovecraft, but this is I don't know. Is there another Seattle-based horror film festival? I don't consider Crypticon a film festival.
So we have Gray Plot Film Fest, which is here their theater is downtown. We have Bleedingham up in Bellingham. Get it, Bleedingham. We have the Comedy of Horrors, which is all comedy horror short films. And if I'm missing any, there's a new one that happened this year. It was this inaugural year, and it's called I think it's Imagine Film Festival, but I might be saying that wrong. That may be a broader genre than just like sci-fi and fantasy wrapped into that. Yeah. And then there's a bunch of little ones. Like there's the Puget Sound Film Festival, the Witches Horror. There's there's a bunch of little ones.
I know that one of the larger ones out here just hung it up. North Bend.
Yeah, because they lost they lost funding.
Yep. Yeah, which is too bad. That was they ran a good program. I know that we judged for them for a couple of years. Actually, during the pandemic years, we were getting streamers from them, and they had good content.
Yeah.
So now that is a torch being handed off to Crystal.
Yeah.
That the honor is bestowed on you to bring good horror short films, but a different the live experience is going to be what separates you from everybody else. But tell us a little bit about the kinds of films. What are you hoping for? What have you been receiving? How do you, and if you were a filmmaker who wants to submit a film to Cabin in the Woods, how do you do that?
So the films that we're getting, some of them are my selection committee. So one of the things that I'm not doing is I'm not selecting the films that are going to be playing at my festival, because I don't want anyone to accuse anyone who's in my festival of getting in because they're my friend, right? Like I've met a lot of directors, I've interviewed a lot of directors, and so I have a whole selection.
I know there's politics that goes into the selection of film festivals. I was talking with Gwen Callahan, who runs Portland Horror Film Festival, Gwen and Brian Callahan, they've now gotten to the point where they get overwhelmed with films and they can't let everything in.
Right.
And so that you get some burnt chaps with that but since you're establishing yourself now, that this is taking. So if you're a entrepreneurial filmmaker and you would like to get your film seen, this may be a great starting point for you because it's an open door.
It is. Yeah. So no, not all open. So it's genre, like it's all horror.
Right. No,
and the subgenres of horror, and then anything that's horror adjacent.
Yeah.
So because like sometimes, like when we're looking at movies through Netflix, it's thriller, but it's a horror movie, right?
Sure,
yeah.
Absolutely, and I think that horror adjacent, that will qualify. You know, I think sometimes some deep cut sci-fi that has some dark elements or dark fantasy. You know, those things. I mean, you'll see that at most film festivals, and we have a little game that we like to do is horror or not, and we'll pitch things back and forth. Like, is Seven a horror movie? I say yes.
I do
but,
too.
But some people go, it's a thriller or
it's crime horror.
Yeah, but by the same token, if you take one step to the left, how about Fatal Attraction?
Romance horror.
Thriller. Yeah, and you know that's like, you know, the sexy thriller is a staple, but it's a comfortable neighbor, and I would not begrudge a film festival if they were going to do a repertory screening of 70 millimeters of Fatal Attraction or Basic Instinct or something like that. It would sort of fit within kind of the emotions that the films are trying to get out of you. They're trying to amplify your blood pressure and make you scream at the movies like Crystal will do.
Right, yeah.
So. So no,
yeah,
but
you've been getting super good, and then some, like with all brand new filmmakers, they're making a lot of mistakes, and because the way that the selection committee is judging, like some are just like missing it by the skin of their teeth, like you know what I mean, like it's so close, but the points weren't high enough for it to be.
So there is a cutting line, but there is not. You do not need to be personal friends with Crystal in order to get
right.
And
if you are my friend and you submit your film, doesn't mean it's going to get nominated because I'm not on the judging. I'm not on the selection committee.
Okay, I see. Okay, so that it's not. Yeah, so there is a vetting that is happening. Is there a, like, if you're just shooting on a handy cam and it's, you know, because there's a great, and it's killing me now, but I was a judge for a 24-hour filming challenge in Portland, and it was horror films, and it would range for stuff that was like total pro, looks like it was ready for they were festival ready, to somebody who just gets their friends together and says action. Right?
We have, from the points that I'm looking at, because I'm not watching the film. So the reason I'm not watching the film is because what's going on is the selection committee is selecting the films that are going to be selected for the film festival, and the VIP judges that are going to be at the cabin are actually going to be judging those films.
Like me.
Like you, yes. And then we're going to have a 4-person who's going to be watching but not judging, because at the end of the, on Saturday morning, at the end of that block, they're going to be sequestered, and they're going to tally all those votes and put them in a red sealed envelope.
Right.
And then at the theater, we will have a ceremony after the films are shown.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
And hoping to get as many of the filmmakers there as possible.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah, we have. So it is smaller venues. So like, there's only 15 VIP cabin guests, and then at the theater, it's a small theater on purpose. But there's 3 different tiers of ticketing. So I forgot to tell you guys, all ticket tiers are all inclusive, which means that your food and snacks and drinks are included. So in the theater, so of course at the cabin, everything is included unless you have a like super specialty dietary requirement, and then we just invite you to bring your own cooler. But in the theater, there are 3 ticket tiers. There's Black, which is the next under VIP, and if you get that ticket, you're getting brunch, you're getting dinner, and then you're getting gourmet concessions.
Nice.
If you're getting a platinum ticket, then you're getting dinner and then high-end snacks and concessions. And then if you get a gold ticket, which is general admission, then you're getting
I like how you start at the gold tier. There's nothing that's like, this is lead. This is if you buy the tin membership, you can watch through a hole in the wall.
No, I want it to be an enhanced experience, right? I want it to be special and bougie. So like at the gold ticket, you get 2 concession checks, and so one is for a large popcorn, a drink, and a candy, and then the second one, because it's a long day at the theater, you get either a small popcorn and a drink, or a drink and a candy, and there's an option to buy a to-go dinner, so that while the VIP cabin black and platinum are at dinner for that break, you can buy a gourmet box dinner and then go sit under the Space Needle and enjoy your gourmet box dinner and then come back for the second part of the films.
Sounds fabulous.
Yeah.
So you can probably there will be plenty of that information and eventually probably menus and
The
selections
menu is
and all that
already
kind
on
of
the
stuff.
it's already on the
So
website.
go check out the website, which is
cabininthewoodsfestival.com.
yeah. Be careful with it because if you do cabininthewoods.com, you might go to a big movie that of the same name.
Right.
So the theater experience because are all the films being shown at the cabin, or is there another? Because my impression was that there was a second venue where actually the movies are being watched, and how does that happen?
So at the cabin, the movies are being judged, and so in the theater, all of those movies are being watched. But by the time the VIP cabin guests get to the theater, we don't know who the winners are. We're not going to know who won until at the end of the festival when we have the award ceremony, because we have to open the envelopes and be like, oh, the winner of best final girl, the best kill scene, right? So the people who are coming to the theater will be watching the movies we judged 3 days before.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are there still VIP slots open? Is there, or how? If you wanted to be, is VIP by invitation only?
No, it's first come, first serve.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and the amount is it? Like for people who are interested, if they are actually trying to consider whether they're going to go black, platinum, gold, whatever tier they want to do, is there sort of a countdown clock on? It's like, if you want to get in, because this is again, it's not a. Is it going to be like 200 people or less at this point?
Yeah, it's 100 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's your head count, folks. This is and
I think maybe next year, because I'm getting so much feedback. I forgot to tell you. Well, I didn't tell you at the first filming because it just happened. So Thursday, when I went home, I was super mad, in a bad mood, because I didn't get home as soon as I wanted to, and it made me mad because I couldn't cook. So I went to the taco shop, which I shouldn't have done. And
I don't know. I always approve a taco shop trip. So, anyways.
And so the guy there, he was like, hey, so what are you going to be doing for the rest of the day? And I'm like, I have to go home and judge these films. I'm behind. And he's like, what kind of films are you judging? And I'm like, horror films. And he was like, oh my God, like you're into horror films? Like there's this new festival in Washington where you watch the films in the cabin. And I was like stunned.
See, that's the moment. That right there, that's the same moment, like the reaction that Mike and I had when you approached us. That's the moment.
I was just like, what?
Yeah,
and
then so he probably goes, wait, no, am I talking about the wrong thing?
He didn't know who I was.
Right. No,
yeah, he didn't even know it was my festival. And so
cool.
then he was like, and if you go to the theater, the popcorn's included. And I was like, what? Like, that's my festival.
So,
like,
I think that's a note to all of you listening, that if you are interested, if you're in the Pacific Northwest, which makes it reasonably easy to get there, gonna want to book it soon.
Yeah.
So and pricing is on. You know, we won't go through the whole pricing list, but it's on the site. Yes,
it is on the site.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but that includes. Actually, does it include the ferry ride over to the island?
It does not.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
so that's ferry ride.
So everything that is included is once you get to the venue.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But this is unique. It is the most film festivals are in a city. They tend to be in
Ours
large
is in
cities.
the city too. The second venue is in the theater.
But there is a component here, which I think that the part of the appeal is you get a little bit of both. I know Crystal happens to be very fearful of spending a night alone in the woods in the dark with with nothing but the owls and the wolves to listen to. Don't think there's any wolves on the island.
There are bears though.
Bears on the is it like black bears? Right on.
And big cats. That we have mountain lions there, but like they were saying on the website, which if you are a VIP guest, you're going to get a whole packet, so don't worry.
And a bucket of bear spray.
They were saying that for that time of year, like in Washington, the end of the summer is super touristy, and so the island is going to be super touristy, so the bears won't they're not going to be like when me and my dog went up to Forks. That was completely different because we were in the middle of nowhere. And so like when you have a small dog barking in the middle of the woods, there's whatever's out there is bigger or more scary than you. It's either wildlife or a serial killer.
And honestly, folks, the animals out there are more afraid of us than we are of them. But I think the appeal, because I was a kid who grew up in the woods. My parents are biologists, and so I would spend summers in the Sierra Nevadas building rock forts and chasing chipmunks. I mean, that was my thing, and so I feel completely at home in the dark in the woods where because my parents live in a rural area north of Corvallis, Oregon, small college town. And when you go outside, it's the only thing that's lighting the ground is the moon. So, there's a lot of appeal to that. And if that's kind of an experience that, if you're a city slicker and you want to do a sort of a kind of touch the fringes of the wild,
this is exactly the venue for you.
Yeah.
And then, like you were saying, at the cabin, there's going to be other stuff going on. Like there's horror events at the cabin because you guys are VIP guests, and so I want to treat you guys special. And then there's going to be downtime too, so you guys can, like, if you want to go golfing, you can go over there. There's a passcode, and if you want to take the boat out, or if you just want to lay there and get too burnt, you can do that too.
Just relaxing on an island. This is your summer camp retreat, minus the Jason Voorhees aspect of it, or so we think.
Oh, so we think.
So, the films to date, have you? Sounds like the public knows about you. Again, if you're a filmmaker, and you wanted to submit for this. Film Freeway?
I don't know. Yeah, Film Freeway. I don't know how our international filmmakers are finding us. It's so exciting. We have 2 films that, according to just the way that I'm looking at the numbers, they're probably going to be selected. They're from Finland and Norway. We have one from Nigeria that, like,
oh boy,
they blew it out of the water. Like, that film.
Have you seen Saloom yet?
I have not.
Watch Saloom. That is, I think, Ghanaian.
Okay.
I think. Crazy good.
Where can you see it?
You can see it on. I think it's Amazon now.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it on Tubi yet, which is now becoming the scariest thing's go-to source for free horror. You can listen to. We've got a podcast about that in the queue. Probably by the time this one airs, the Tubi episode will be up. Don't mean to shill too much for it, but yes, that. I think that that Africa is sort of this film industry. You're beginning to see more films, particularly out of South Africa and Morocco.
I have been seeing a lot, like, for the last couple of years, because I review films and people send me films to review. So, like, the films coming out of Africa are just, like, terrorizing because it is based off of their folklore and their myths and mythologies and one of the films that I seen, because they had a copy of My First Nightmare, because one of the monsters that is in there is from South Africa, and there's like 4 other monsters from.
So what is the South African monster?
I can't pronounce the name. But like there's it's the,
honesty.
Yeah, it's the monster that has it's like a bulimia. It has no head and its eyes are on the bottom of his feet, so he has to chase you on his hands and looks at you with his feet. It's a terrifying monster.
That's straight out of the Del Toro playbook.
It's scary. It's super scary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so and that book is
My First Nightmare by Crystal Connor.
My First Nightmare, and that is that's a children's story book. Yes,
it is, and it premiered in New York City Comic Con in 2008.
There you go. So
Sold
if you're looking for something to as a gateway thing for you and your kids, there you go.
Yeah.
Where was I going with this? So the you're getting some international films. Is there going to be is there a Northwest flavor to
yes,
this?
we do have a section for Washington State only, and I don't know how we're gonna pick a winner, because these guys in the Seattle Horror Film Society are submitting these films. They're on their A game.
I'll tell you how we would pick it. You get judges like me.
Right.
And we will.
They're gonna make it hard because like I watch the notes for the selection committee. I try not to peek in there too much because I don't want any spoilers.
Sure.
But there's one in there that's making the rounds right now, and I don't want to say anything because the film festival, the submissions don't close until June 30th. So
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a cutoff date, but you're getting close.
yeah, June 30th is the
Okay.
final last super late deadline. But it's like they are like fired up about it. So like we just have to wait and see. Mm-hmm. And then so there'll be the award for Washington State is the Sasquatch Award.
Perfect.
And so then
because that will be one of the adventures on the island is the Sasquatch hunt. I'm sure. The first person to find Sasquatch gets a ribbon.
No, okay, so I am a Black person, right? And when you guys are watching my film reviews, there are rules. And one of the things that Black people do not do is investigate. So no, we will not be looking for a Bigfoot.
No UFOs, no Sasquatch, no Puget Sound Lake, Puget Sound monster.
Yeah,
you know.
we're not doing that. If it happens, it happened. We're not going to go and look for it.
Bring your cameras. You never know.
I'll be right back. Don't ever say that in our movie situation. And then, like because the festival is super exclusive, I don't want it to be like, I don't want it to have like a pretentious feel, but I kind of do want it to be like a small venue. We do have an online festival that runs concurrent, and so and there's all kinds of stuff.
So there you go. Actually, that's important for our audience to know who can't make it to the bougie, snack-filled trip to the island with the axe throwing contests. You can still actually stream content. And is there? I'm sure is that like the gold rate, or is there a streaming rate?
It's a streaming rate, yeah.
Okay.
And so because I want to also create a festival at home, because like one of the things that I noticed when I started covering film festivals is sometimes if you don't go to a film festival, you don't get to see the films because they don't always end up on Alter or Screamfest on YouTube, right? So like if you miss it at the theater, at a film festival, you're going to miss it.
I'm 100%, I know exactly what you're saying. There have been some film favorites. Now, one thing, another shout out to our Portland folks, Portland Horror Film Festival, Lovecraft. They have built their reputation on short films. A lot of those films, you have to go to Gwen and Brian to get the DVD,
Right,
and
right.
they can send it to you because there's a lot of that stuff doesn't make it. Like Alter is awesome when it comes to horror shorts. If you're not into Alter, you should check it out. Some of the best curated horror shorts out there, but it usually takes about a year after they've been in
festival
circulation.
run,
They get the festival run first, and then they get picked up a year later on Alter. But for things like Finley, which has been a big fan hit for us on our channel, and the Chris McEnroy stuff like Guts and Crystal knows about Death Metal, and We Summoned a Demon. So you can go there and
None
have
with
full
the
confidence.
chainsaw. Like we're not going to see that anywhere else,
Right.
except for in a film festival.
Yeah, and so highly recommend that. But more than that, get in on film festival action so that you get to see it before other people, and you may be the only chance to see some of these things, and they're excellent. Some of these, I have become a huge fan of the horror short. It's been, and honestly, before I actually started doing the scariest things 6 years ago, I really wasn't dialed into the horror shorts community. I didn't kind of like how you had your eyes open going to festivals and as a critic, and you go, oh, that's what this is about.
Well, even as a critic, it's super fun, right? But like, as a writer, I'm a fan of the short because it's harder to write a short story than a big one because you have to grab your audience from the middle of the story, grab them by the throat, and don't let go because you don't have that much time to tell it, right?
Yep.
And it's the same with short films. So, yeah.
Here's a thought. Are there any of your stories that you want to see put to film? And would you be interested in showing your own stories at your own festival, please say yes.
Yes, of course. So I have a book that is available for free, but usually people buy it after they like listen to all the stories, and that's They All Live Happily Ever After.
Yeah.
And that's on free on Apple Podcast. And so like I get the download data. I look at it every week, and there's 3 that always like compete for the top spots. And one is the Monster, the other one is the Parish, and then the other one is Amber's New Friend. And Amber's New Friend it's a ghost story, but it tells the story from the ghost point of view and why she wants them out of her house.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did this particular ghost meet an like was her end like unexpected and violent, or did she die of natural causes?
She's always been in that spot.
Okay.
So like the first peoples who woke her up, or the natives indigenous to Louisiana, they felt her presence, and they built their sweat lodge around her. And so then over the years it became a sweat lodge, a house, a small, like, you know what I mean? And so she's always been in that spot. And so there was something that happened to one of the people that were living there that made her connect herself to that person. And so over the years,
So is this like a 19th century tale,
No,
or
it's
like is it a contemporary tale?
it's
based on-
contemporary
so-
tale, but it tells her just a short piece of her history of how she got there. Well, we don't know how she got there, but like how long she's been there. She's been there before, man walked the earth, and she'll be there after we're all gone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so it's from her point of view, and people really connect with that story. The ending was really hard to write, and I thought that I wasn't going to include it in the anthology, but I'm super glad that I did, just based off the feedback that I get from it.
So and again, so that story is contained within
They All Lived Happily Ever
They
After.
All Live Happily Ever After. Okay. So, well, I think we're.
But one more thing I need to
oh.
let you guys know
Yeah.
about the online streaming festival. So I still wanted to create a festival environment for people who are going to be watching from home. So there's all kinds of stuff to do when you're streaming online. So like before the festival starts, for the online guys, there's going to be an escape room that they have to like.
Fun.
Yep. And then in between each block, there's speed trivia, and then there's like a whole bunch of stuff to do while you're watching online.
It still is. It's not just like going up and uploading a film and watching it. That's hard to do. I think that a lot of the streaming festivals during the pandemic had found out how do you create content to make it still to give the same essence. And they all tried different kinds of ways to do it. A lot of sometimes it would be interviews and live things that you wouldn't get otherwise, or that they would have. I remember.
Q&A.
Yeah, that
And
that
then
kind
the
of
break
stuff.
rooms.
Right, and and just sort of like feedback kind of things. So. Looking forward to see how you do this. This is going to be, it's an exciting. I congratulate
Thank
you
you.
on your new voyage. I think this is it. This is kind of the ground floor starting this thing up. Be prepared when this thing becomes successful, that you're going to need to sort of adjust your sights and
Absolutely.
how this thing works, because at a
I'm
certain
already
point,
knowing that for next year I'm going to have a bigger theater.
Yeah.
Because like I was not expecting. I mean, I ambitious, and I think ambition should be one of the 7 deadly, like an 8th deadly, because really like
you know what that's called? It's pride.
Oh, but like when you say it like that, it sounds bad.
It's a sin. What you're saying? You said it was a sin.
But like it's
Right.
different. Like to be, but I guess you're right. Yeah, so it is. It is pride, and
I am. That's my sin. If it's
because like I think
it's
on
ambition.
like when we do like the traditional 7 deadlies, mine is vanity and gluttony.
Okay.
Because I like my own reflection, and I am gonna eat cake for breakfast.
Mine is pride and sloth. Right. I woke up today at 9:30 because I'm at a festival, and I was up late last night, and I was like, I'm not gonna get up until I have to. So,
but that's different. That's festival life.
Yeah.
Like,
but that is.
because it's late nights.
But
right?
it's also that's my go-to place too. I'm the guy who's but the thing is, I take that back, because I am also once I'm engaged, in something. Like I get to work a little late, but I stay even later.
Longer, yeah.
Because I'm also a completionist. I am I can't leave. I can't leave work until if I'm still thinking about work when I'm in the car on the way home. I gotta turn around. I gotta finish what I'm doing. Otherwise, or I can't sleep that night. And that sucks.
It really does.
Fortunately, I think I've gotten to the point in my career where I know how to sort of. I have the Eric mode. Eric the architect mode shuts off. Eric the scariest thing mode kicks on, and then my second. So I have that. So yeah, it's a weird combination of pride and sloth because they kind of compete against each other.
Yeah, they do.
Anyhow, Crystal, this has been a real treat. This is getting firsthand because I will be there. I hope that I will see a lot of you listening there. And
not a lot of you,
out.
like only 15. But you can participate on the online. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
See you at the theater, hopefully.
Or see you online.
Yeah, see you online. Yeah.
Crystal, thank you so much.
It's been so fun.
Okay.
Thank you so much, you guys. Thanks for hanging out. And hopefully we'll see you at the cabin.
Bye-bye.